Okay, so this is Stories of Our Lives, and it's a combination of my father's home ministry, and
and Inspired Truth Ministry.
we worked together before on a few projects, but this one I wanted to do because things have gotten slightly worse, or mildly worse, depends how you want to look at it, from where we used to, collaborate. So I'm going to put our ministries in a link below in the description of the page.
Yeah, so my ministry started in 2019. So we were doing this during COVID. We were doing this and getting ourselves in trouble on censorship and stuff. And then my son started his ministry in 2022. So we've been doing this for a while, so we're not new. But this is all his idea of collaborating with a new, improved idea of coming to you with what we've been struggling with in the state of Oregon and our plans to try and hopefully make a difference in the state of Oregon.
So what we'll be doing is discussing modern day problems that our families faced and our way of resolving it.
Some
But
of
also,
it.
some of it you can't.
Yeah.
But what helps us may end up helping you. And my parents were really big on reading. They read a lot of books. Uh, Books were a good inspiration for me as a kid. As I got older, I kind of grew out of it. But as a pastor, I did take my reading very seriously.
We would spend date nights going to bookstores and getting books, Christian books on communication, on how to be a good wife, how to be a good mother, how to be a good husband, father. Just preparing ourselves when one day we were going to get married and have children. So we took it seriously, and I think we were better off for it. But it made it very tough to find a church because
Yeah.
we had information that most of the church leaders didn't even know about. And so we went rounds with churches, I'll tell you. And one of the biggest problems with the church was even though we had a Christ-centered marriage and we had a good family, instead of asking how we came to this conclusion, we were shunned. We were filled with envy and jealousy and a lot of backlash from the people in the church. And so we have not felt comfortable stepping foot into a church since we started our ministries. So that's where we stand with having a family that is Christ-centered and not having a place to call home for a church.
Once you try and rise up, and you give your criteria of what you want to discuss, or you give the books that you want to talk about, the church will decide yes or no. And a red flag was that the churches didn't do marital or parental counseling. Okay, they were solely focused on Bible studies, not family. And so my dad and my mom, they wanted to do a group and study with both spouses instead of being separate, and the church didn't like that idea. So we learned a lot about different churches and how they run things, and unfortunately, it is the most saddest thing to see that some churches get so consumed with jealousy that becomes their whole reason for why they don't want people teaching. Instead of asking questions or seeing if there was a good base for their group and seeing if it would actually benefit the church, they just wrote it off instead.
And much like our governments, much like our corporations, church leadership's lacking.
Yep.
It's lacking the guts. It's lacking what, it means to be in church leadership. And so we saw the writing on the wall very, very early on a lot of these churches. And, we understand being a newcomer, you're not going to be immediately put in leadership. We get that. But we felt that we were proving ourselves through the groups and through the volunteering that we did, which we did a lot of volunteering,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't enough. And so that was really frustrating. But it was a good lesson to learn. One church in particular, I found healing. I got through, a very traumatic childhood and the trauma it caused me, and to rise above it and to not let it rule my life and make me a victim. So it's not all bad. I'll tell you that. I did learn a lot, and I did apply it to my ministry to try and help other women through what I learned myself. Because the last thing you want to be in this society is a victim. It doesn't get you anywhere. It just makes it worse for you. And you don't get any growth. You don't mature. You're stuck.
That church, you learned a lot when you showed up to a volunteer activity and you're the only family there. Like, you're the only people that showed up, except for one other person who was doing it. My dad's the one that got on the phone and made the calls, and then got people down there. That
was discouraging.
It was very discouraging because, we're new. We know a few people, but, that was like, what, 6 months in, something like that?
Something like that.
So
yeah.
We weren't there for very long when we found out that this was a crack. So throughout the time of going to different churches, we have developed skills that help us see cracks in the foundation. And the foundation of a church, foundation of family, is very dear to us. It's one of our main principles. So if we see a crack, we know that there's red flags and things that can fall through. We don't know the extent of the damage until we investigate further. But the root of it comes from the pastor. It comes from the leadership of the church.
It comes from a deeper root of feminism. These men did not run the church, their wives did. Mm-hmm. But they were written as the leadership of the church. But behind the scenes, it was the wives running it. And that's a big problem with our society right now is the feminism has taken over our school systems. It's taken over our churches. It's taken over our corporations. It's taken over our politics. I mean, you name it. I'm kind of on board with women losing the rights to vote. In this last election, if you noticed, I'm voting because I want to make my parents upset with my vote. Okay, that's not why we vote. You're making us look bad.
Yeah.
You're making the statement of, I don't really care enough to vote. I just care about my feelings to vote. That's not how we do things in the United States of America. If you want to vote, go to another country. I'm going to start with my video that I just did and the stuff that I had put in there so that you guys can see the progress of what I believe has happened to the feminism movement. And then I'm going to ask my son a question and we'll go from there. One of the things we like to do is talk. Mm-hmm. If there's something going on in the news, I will grab him and say, hey, did you see this? And we'll talk. So one of the things that we're going to enjoy doing over the course of this whole new podcast is we want to show you our authentic conversations that we have. Not going to be prearranged or rehearsed. It's just going to be blatant. This is how it is with us. When I became a Christian, I didn't have a Bible. My youth pastor gave me one, and I said, I can't afford to pay you for this. He says, I just want you to read it. I came unequipped for family. My parents were divorced. My mom was a single mom working all the time. And so I had no real grasp on what love or marriage really were, or parenting for that. So I grabbed the Bible verses that talked about marriage and talked about family and talked about what our roles are as husband and wife. So I'm going to share with you something I don't think very many churches even touch. And this would solve a lot of problems if they did. This is 1 Corinthians 7, 2-4. Nevertheless, because of sexual immorality, which is what we're living right now, let each man have his own wife, and let each woman have her own husband. Let the husband render to his wife the affection due her, and likewise also the wife to her husband. The wife does not have authority over her own body, but the husband does. And likewise, the husband does not have the authority over his own body, but the wife does. If we were living this biblical principle right here, my body, my choice would not exist. This is the problem with the demoralization of our whole society. This is what happens when you let the women control. And, I get really upset over the fact that the churches have let society down. The churches they just wanted to tickle your ears and let you hear what you want to hear. And that was your day for Sunday. Instead of actually making you feel convicted in how your week was, what sins did I commit? Coming to God and saying, Lord, I need to fix this. I need to make things right with you. One of the things that I looked at when I was going to church was, am I encountering the Holy Spirit? That's what I was doing every Sunday at the church that we were actually really, committed to. You don't feel that anymore. You don't feel the encounter of the Holy Spirit. And I've said this many times, it's because it's not spirit-led, it's man-led. And that's what has degraded our society to this, so much so. We have a book here that my husband and I started to read by Jack Cottrell, and it's called Gender Roles in the Bible, the Creation, the Fall, and Redemption. This man has quit writing because of the backlash of the feminists. I have another author that I really enjoyed, which is Laura Doyle, and she wrote The Surrendered Wife. At one time, she had support groups. She had ways to get to women to really understand what it means to submit to your husband. And she has since disappeared. I don't know why, but I believe that the feminist movement has overtaken women and men to the point that they can't even address this issue. And we need to, because it's hard to coexist with these women that are so irate, so into their point of view that they don't even care what you have to say. My last video, I also said, hey, we need a female Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk made a difference in young men's lives. He tried with the females, didn't succeed as well as he did with the men. But we need female Charlie Kirks who are real, not made up and not lying to you about who they are, but real, genuine women who remember what it's like to bring back purity. I mean, the last time we talked about purity was Jonas Brothers and their rings, right? I think that's the last time anybody even mentioned purity.
Pretty much, yeah.
Modesty, how you dress. I mean, these women, they dress the way they dress, and then they complain about the attention that they get.
They blame the men.
Hello, yeah. Men look, I was taught this way early. Men's hormones are in their eyes. Ladies, that's what you're doing, and you get what you get. So one of the things us Generation Xers did with the girls that had even just a handful of guys that they had been with, they were considered damaged goods. That was detrimental. That was enough for you to become an old maid. Men would not touch you. They would get the guy groups and go, hey, don't touch her. Don't go near her. She's damaged goods. And they knew what that meant. All these women glorifying prostitution in our society are going way beyond that. And they don't understand men don't want you. You're the fun girl, as my husband would put it when he was dating. You're the fun girl. You're not marriage material. And that's the problem we're finding in our society.
Yep.
So I have a question for my son here. I don't have the clip. I apologize. We're still new on this and not knowing how to do clips of people saying stuff. But I can tell you that I heard this from Benny Johnson and I got very upset. And I want to know your feelings on it because he was directing his message to guys that are 30 years old. Well, my son's 27. I figure you're in that age group. We'll see what you think. His statement was, if you are a man and you're 30 years old and you're not married and you don't have children, then you must be a liberal. So I'm going to ask my son, how do you feel about that?
Well, we like Benny. It's okay to be wrong. Lots of people say things that maybe in the moment seemed like the right thing to say, but then they later on get a lot of backlash. I would say that that's purely perspective, okay? Because you're dealing with different kinds of men.
And it's probably based on his own experiences.
Yeah. More than likely, because I'm not going to put Benny down. I'm not going to label him or anything. I don't like labels. But just watching him, looking at him, you could easily put him in the geek category. The geek thing, the way that he phrases things and the way he sees the world. It's not from a mountain man's perspective. It's not from somebody that would resonate more with me or my father. So from a guy like me, it's spoken out of ignorance. One could argue that he's out of touch. And that could be because he's found a wife, he's got a family, and so he doesn't know what we're up against. Location's a big, big factor in finding somebody. Not just with perspectives, but the location matters a great deal. Because in blue states, you're not going to find a conservative woman that's, a dime a dozen. You're going to find them very rare. Okay.
For us, we're 15 minutes away from Portland, Oregon. If that gives you any idea of the type of cesspool my sons have to draw from. And I say that, honestly.
Yeah.
It's rampant here. I mean, it's so bad that, we can't even talk about Jesus where we live. It's not a comfortable subject. And it gets you backlash. It can cost you your job. So I was a little taken aback by that one because I'm happy for him that he found someone, but it's not always easy for everybody, especially when you're a conservative young man trying to find those conservative young women, and the ones that are being thrown out there as conservative traditional women aren't. They're a fallacy. They're not real. Yeah. They have a background that doesn't even it doesn't compare to what you're supposed to be as a conservative Christian woman. I was telling my son, I made a choice in my life personally that the consequence of being intimate with someone at a young age, especially, is pregnancy. And I made a choice to myself was, hey, I'm not ready. I'm not ready for that consequence. And I'm not going to use abortion as a way to take care of that. And adoption's not even mentioned as an option.
No, not.
When I went to Crisis Pregnancy Center here, when we used to have them, when I was pregnant with this one, that was an option. Abortion was not mentioned unless you absolutely needed to. It was the last ditch effort if you weren't happy with, being pregnant. Of course, I was happy and I was going to get married, so I was fine with it. I was engaged to my husband at the time. So, but that's not even an option. It's not even brought up. There's no counseling for these girls. They're just told, hey, this is your options. Yeah. I don't even think having the baby is considered an option. And that's scary. You're put in a position where you don't know what to do in the situation, and the counsel you're getting is flawed.
Yeah. Extremely.
And the churches are silent. They don't want to address these tough issues that these young women are facing. I was frightened when, our generation was talking about teenage pregnancy being a thing. I was like, this is ridiculous. What is going on? We need to go back to talking about purity, modesty, our generation next. Hey, remember prudes? Have you heard that word recently? I don't think we've even encountered that word since our generation. Those are not bad words. Those are actually good words and words that need to be given to our children, especially young women. And these words need to be used by women who are in a position of being a role model. Women, we don't have any. Celebrities have lost their way. We don't have any real women talking about these issues to an extent like Charlie did.
Yeah.
And losing Charlie,
that's true.
I think, it still hurts. It's still felt. His presence was so big. His effectiveness in speaking and making a difference. There's no one like him.
His approach was very unique.
Yeah.
And watching him, I believe that he embodied love thy neighbor as yourself. He really did. He was always respectful, always polite. I mean, he gave the hecklers what they deserve, but overall, he remained very understanding, um, and very, very real. He stayed very real and true to himself. Um, these days, this feminism has really entrapped a lot of women into believing that they needed to feel empowered. Men never had that problem. If we wanted power, we took it. If we wanted something, we took it. There was no movement of men feeling empowered, or there was no saying that made us feel empowered. It was simply, it's within our grasp, it's within our means, we take it.
But now that's considered toxic masculinity, which is such a joke. Men have to be men in order for the women to be women, because I've told my sons this so many times. Be careful who you marry. Women have the ability to either build you up or tear you down. And if you look at the feminist movement, men are being ripped to shreds. And what man wants to be married to that? What man in their right mind cares to be married to that? And so I think that's what's also really just tearing our whole society apart, is that these women don't understand what it means to come under the authority of man, and the man coming under the authority of God. And what I liked about the surrendered wife was, in the study that I did, I learned I cannot surrender to God if I don't surrender to my husband and his authority. And we've taught our kids, all of them, don't let a girl push you around. You are in control. You put her in check. And they've watched my husband do this with me so many times. And I will tell you, my husband doesn't do it in a way that's abusive. Okay, I'll tell you.
Disrespect.
Yes, it's always, stop acting like your mother. That will nip it in the bud pretty quick. Or go to your room. Calm down until we have a civil conversation.
He was very good at analyzing the situation and knowing just how to respond. His effectiveness was in his communication, and it was never derogatory. It was never raising his voice. It was just always, well, if that's how you're going to be, there's the consequences of that action.
Or if you're going to act like a child, I'll treat you like one. I mean, That's really what it comes down to, is these girls are little children running amok and not having any clue how to be a human being.
I showed my mom a video about a woman's feelings. During an argument, she'll be responding to her feelings and neglecting the root of the issue. She'll be focused on how the man responds to the issue she caused. And then as the man is not only taking care of the issue, but also explaining to her why it's wrong, explaining about her actions and appealing more to her feelings. I looked at it and I'm like, so basically you're trying to comfort the woman like she's a child, and then spare her feelings like she's a child, and walking her through the process like a child.
Mm-hmm.
And no, some men have the patience for it. I don't. You are a adult. You should be acting like an adult, which is your maturity, your emotions, your mental state, and your physical well-being all should be stable. Okay, if you're unstable in some areas, I would suggest getting some help by professionals, not your friend group, professionals. Feminism has tried to spread this lie about being provocative and how that is empowering for some reason. It's not. You're eye candy. You're putting yourself on display for the men's eyes to look upon. That's supposed to be for your husband. Okay? That's the way it used to be. You don't have to be religious. Okay? That's just what the standard was until today. It slowly was coming to this point, and now we're seeing it full blown. And it's just out of control. So, feminism has lied to many women, and it has tricked them to believing that the opposite of empowerment is empowerment. And that's the biggest issue. Biblically speaking, you have the power already within you because you're made in God's image. You have value. Okay? You're a human being. You have value. The problem is these young women, they didn't get raised to understand that they have value, and they didn't learn it. So they find value in male validation, and that's not where you want to find it. It's fun if it's with a high caliber man, because a high caliber man is not going to betray you or lead you astray. He's actually going to teach you why you're valuable. With just the average guy, it ain't going to happen. You'll be very,
the beta males.
Yeah, you'll be very disappointed.
Yeah.
And it'll be very underwhelming, and you won't know what to do. So you got to find a man who's stable, has it figured out, to then help you out. Girls, they don't understand the damaging repercussions that will come from this decision. Adult content is not taken lightly. It's a life choice. It's a decision. It's a lifestyle that will make or break your reputation, who you are as a person, your character. And unfortunately, many women were not taught about their value and where it comes from.
Not to mention the fact that even in our day growing up, a lot of the women in the adult industry couldn't bear to live anymore. And they didn't even go the extent that these girls have gone. So I'm concerned as to how this is going to affect them down the road when they realize they've ruined their whole entire lives. Getting a job, becoming a wife and a mother. Man, the odds are stacked against you.
The difference with your generation, everything you did wasn't online.
Correct.
And so when these women are posting their content online, yeah, they're making money, but at what cost? They're not going to be seen as anything but that. It's no different than typecasting. You're going to be just seen as that, period. You're not going to get respect. You're not going to get anything at all. You'll just have a guy, if he recognizes you in person, he may just pull out a lot of cash. And you're expected to perform on the spot. Okay? You're putting yourself out there. And the negative feedback will be a lot more than you think.
And see, that's the problem. They don't look at what's going to happen down the road. This is, I'm just having fun right now. Okay, that fun will come at a cost.
Yeah, they call it that certain phase. But the issue that they're not addressing is what happens when that's over and you want to settle down. Mm-hmm. Well, you can try to take things off the internet. Doesn't mean that it's going to be gone. Anybody can download your videos and then later on post them. If someone were to steal your content and then post it themselves and make money off of that, even after you've quit, there's no stopping them.
No.
Sure, you can try and sue them, but then you're caught up on these legal fees and stuff, and it's just a back and forth, and you may never get justice. So it's just better not to do it at all. You also have to think about the future children you're going to have. Already kids are mean, okay? You'll have kids calling your mom names all the time. Your mom's this, your mom's that, trying to get under your skin. Well, it's going to hurt a lot more for these future kids knowing that that's actually true.
And getting bullied.
And they can't defend their mom. There is no honor. Okay? What you had was chivalry, gentleman's code. Defending a woman's honor was like the highest thing you could do. You can't defend a woman who has no honor to give.
Yeah.
You can't do it. Feminism has ruined not just chivalry, but also the old code, which is why men gave up. Feminism removed what made women and men special. It removed why we work so well together. It removed everything because it had shown the women, you don't need men. You can do it this way.
Yeah.
But at what cost? What do you give up for lack of men? Well, the reformed feminists have found that out, and they've been trying to get the word out ever since. The issue is, feminism didn't just start and stop with one generation. It affected generations more and more as they progressed.
Well, and it's reared its ugly head up throughout history. If you really delve into it, it's nothing new. Satan's playbook's nothing new. It's always something that he's designed and done for generations. It's whether or not you want to allow him to end society and future generations, because there's no one getting married and having kids.
Yeah.
They're not happening. And it's not due to, the men. It's mainly due to the women.
Well, it's not even a liberal thing or Republican thing. It's a character thing. It's a
lack of morality thing.
Personality conflicts is what it really is. You got one side that feels this way, one side that feels this way, and feminism caused division. Okay, that's what it does. I heard a guy talk about how it's not a socialist construct, but yet it kind of is. It kind of is the same thing. I'm like, that's what I was thinking. See, it's not in socialism, but it has similar traits to socialism.
Yeah.
And if all you want is division, then you're not going to find someone. I mean, if you do, you both will be miserable. You both will be completely at the mercy of your ideals.
And I taught my kids long ago, number one, you've got to believe and agree in your belief system.
Yeah.
So that's, your politics, your religion, all of it has to come into agreement, or you really do have a battle on your hands when it comes to raising kids. Charlie talked about this too. These are the major things that you guys have got to agree on, or you won't make it. And I think that's a big problem with the divorce rate is you're not in agreement, and it causes so many more problems. And marriage is hard already, and marriage takes work. It's more than just, I have physically this to offer you. No, it's a mental, emotional coming together and being in agreement. If I didn't agree with my husband on marriage and parenting and all of that, our kids would never have been as stable as they are right now. We would have had a mess, and we would have had fights left and right. Luckily, my husband and I really don't fight. We pretty much agree on everything, which makes it so much easier.
My parents and I don't fight either. There may be discussions that we'll disagree on, but it's not a fight. No one raises their voice or anything. It's just simply, well, you have the right to that opinion. Sure, If there's something that's a little heated, we'll use humor to combat the heated situation.
The intensity of the situation.
Yeah. Because no one wants to hurt each other. So for us, it's you're using humor in a situation that was either unavoidable or you didn't see how it could have ended that way. And a lot of that happens when you're camping. When you're camping, things just end up happening, or you're running off of fatigue or something. not necessarily burnt meals, but just you're not thinking before you do something. And you may place something in someone's way, or you may, um, not tie a secure knot.
That's why I loved Gary Smalley so much. He got camping. He understood the competitiveness of having to pull off the side of the road, watch the other cars go ahead of you. That's the way men think. Like, you don't let these men beat me. And then it was nothing's more challenging than going camping and you think you've got everything. You think it's going to go a certain way, and some random thing happens, and now you've got a challenge on your hands. And it's fun because as a family, those challenging times come up. We pretty much, take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
We're not going to, we may harass him because he forgot something that we needed, and berate him the rest of the trip. But, it's out of love and out of fun. And we try and make the best of it because you can't always control everything.
There's a respect thing we have in our family. And that's why it's important when you meet someone, you're going to find out instantly how they were raised, by how they speak, what actions they do, and you'll find out very quickly if they raised themselves or if they were raised by more than one person. So, other times though, you'll just be like, how?
Well, and one thing we've told our boys, and we've talked about this so many times, is good luck finding a girl that's going to fit in with our family. Our family's, a different dynamic. It's
yeah.
If you don't have thick skin, you won't make it. Because I was called dairy cow for a while by your grandfather. He called Joshua's girlfriend lizard. Not that he just comes up with these what he feels is terms of endearment, but for somebody,
my cousin
will take it.
My cousin had buck teeth for a while, and so he drew a clamshell with buck teeth. He was just, making fun. Just, whatever you can do for a laugh. He was a great guy. But with this family, you have not just integrity, but you also have a wicked sense of humor that not everybody will appreciate. Okay.
And we've unfortunately, we've given our children high standards. We have high standards for, I've had my kids say, I'm not bringing any girls home. I'm not doing it. You won't approve of the ones I'll bring home. Well, then we have a problem.
I've been looking for what I could bring home, and that's why it's more devastating when the result is not what you think it's going to be.
Yeah.
Dating's hard. It's harder when you feel like it's rigged against you, not just by the girls. That's a given. Mm-hmm. But when it's the parents who don't even know you, but you've been around the family for like 11 years, but dad doesn't talk to you, the mother hardly addresses you, you just don't get the feeling like this is, gonna work out. And then they call themselves Christians, and you're just like, but that's not even a Christian behavior to me. They're very judgmental. Very judgmental. And you get into this whole thought of, will there be a family that accepts me and my family? And, that's a good question, not easily answered.
Because we've taught our children, learning from Kevin Lehman, that, you don't marry two people up on that altar. You're marrying 6. You're marrying those 2 people and their parents on either side. And you have to make that work. And unfortunately, in this society, you can see how broken it is. You can see that it's not 6 people up on that altar getting married. It is just the 2. Lots of times, no parents.
Yep.
In my case, my parents weren't there. Just my husband and his family. But, it's broken. It's a broken system. And it takes courage, takes strength, and it takes conviction to keep that going and make it into something beautiful like God intended.
Yep.
But boy, even just finding parents that are still married for as long as we've been together. My husband and I have been together for 34 years. It's not easy to find people that have been together that long, and still like each other.
Yep.
You know, my husband and I are still coming up with new common interests because we realize we're not going to be parents forever. We're going to be together, you know, alone, and we got to be able to like each other and want to be together in those alone times. But, you know, feminism has really ruined what God created as a beautiful thing. But that's all Satan's doing. And, you know, this is his world right now. This is his time to cause havoc and undo what God meant for good and twist and turn everything the scripture says. I would like to see these young women get off their phones. It does nothing to your mental stability to be on your phones with a social network that is completely, utterly toxic. I've seen him get upset, and I said, get off your phone. Just stop talking to these toxic women. They're not worth it.
But they're wrong. So we'll do a part 2. It's coming up.
Yeah.